Countdown to Green. We take a look back at all the short track action from Richmond. We talk to the drivers of Canaan Esports. And we take a look at how you're driving at home. Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
'Cause we're invincible.
Welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. This is Countdown to Green. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. Joining me, as always, we have Alan Cavana and Blake McCandless. Blake, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Camille, and boy, is there so much excitement in the air for this race, Alan, than what we're doing tonight. Going to Monza, a track we've never seen, never even thought of going to before, but yeah, here we are, and I know the drivers, fans, they're all ready for this one tonight.
You said it. I mean, this is the benefit of iRacing, going places with the next-gen car across the ocean that we would never see in real life. We get to see our pro drivers out there, the best of the best, doing it on one of the world's best tracks. That's what's so cool about tonight.
It's going to be good because Monza means it's unmarked territory. It's anyone's race. But we got to first see what went down in Richmond before we get to Monza.
It's going to be a long one. We're happy that you're with us on a Tuesday night. Zelensky in control as we say, let's go racing at Richmond. He ended up into the outside wall, but he was able to keep rolling. The 14's the one who ended up backwards. It's the first opportunity under the yellow flag for wholesale pit service. Everybody's in with 95 to go. And now it's Leahy on the bottom. It's Mullis in the middle and the 15 of Garrett Lowe to the outside. 3 wide. Nick Ottinger has took over control. He's got Zelensky hot on his heels. They're wrecking behind. The 41's into the outside wall. He takes his at the 36 with him. Look out, they're knocking down the wall off at 2. The 7's into the inside wall. The 43 car of Femi Olat gets pile driven to the inside, and they all wash up and park him in 3. It's a mess for another yellow. Pace car off, 52 laps to go. It's a front row of Bobby Zelensky. Green's in the air. It's a great jump for the 18. It's old Bobby Z to turn 1. Bullish tries to get to the bottom, not gonna matter, wrecking on the back straightaway. The 3, the 31, the 27, and more. Another quick caution. White flag in the air for Bobby Zelensky. Every season, a perennial playoff driver and seemingly a perennial contender year in and year out in the championship 4. And Bobby takes a big step in that direction again here tonight at Richmond. Final time off 4. Bobby Zelensky wins at Richmond Raceway.
No doubt a lot of action at Richmond a couple of weeks ago. Bobby Zelensky gets the win. You can see him along with Tucker Minter and Michael Conti, 3 of your 4 race winners, which that is one big note. Steven Wilson is not in the top 20 right now, so his win would not make him eligible for the playoffs. But also, Alan, you look around these team standings, look at all the ties that we have everywhere from the cut line all the way down. You see Kerwin and Tyler Gary are tied for 12th as well. These points are tight, not only to get into the playoffs, but inside the top 20 as well.
The same thing with the team standings. When you look at them, Front Row Motorsports at the front of the field when it comes to the team standings. Just 2 points over William Byron Esports and Team Dillon. Then look down at 8th and 9th. Big movers for Pittsburgh Knights and Rise Esports. What's interesting there's a lot of room for improvement. None of those drivers on either of those teams have led laps so far, so there's a lot of room for improvement. They're already doing well so far early on in this season. Cool to see those teams up there.
There's room for improvement, especially for those drivers. Blake, like you mentioned, it is all about the points. So looking at Richmond, what was your biggest takeaway?
Well, Camille, I think one of the things that we've noticed and we've started to see a trend over these years is that we have so many drivers that we know are talented at these road courses that go out and run so well. They seem to do well at these short tracks. When we go to Richmond, when we go to Bristol, you see names like Bobby Zielinski up front, Mitchell DeYoung when he was a part of the series. I guess now you could say Keegan Leahy in that ride, Graham Bolin, Steven Wilson. So many drivers that are successful on the road courses seem to do well at Richmond, and I think that could bode well, Alan, for who we may see run up front tonight.
Absolutely, because who are we talking about in victory lane at Richmond? Bobby Z. Watch this restart. That's what I saw at Richmond. It's just how skilled Bobby Zielinski was at these restarts here on the inside row. 2 back, and then he's going to get both these drivers here to get up to the lead on this restart. And that wasn't the only one. When they went to single file restarts, he had to be the leader and play the games and hold the entire field off, and he did it all night, putting everyone on notice once again. You expect to see Bobby in the playoffs, which we will. You expect to see him in the championship 4, which he's done, 4 straight times. You expect to see him do that again. He wins in Richmond, masterful on those restarts, and heck, he probably can do it again tonight.
We're going to have to see if he could do it again, because there is a couple of drivers that we got to get to know. We were talking about the Canaan Esports drivers, and one of them on Media Day said that they're actually going to win Monza. So let's take a look and check in with Parker and Tyler from Canaan Esports.
Well, I thought Tony would be a really good owner for me. I know he's really involved in iRacing, and obviously he's an IndyCar legend. So just affiliating myself with Tony, it's going to be really good for me. And just getting to drive with him, building a relationship, and I thought he was the perfect pick for me because, like I said, he's really involved in iRacing. He's involved with all of his drivers, and I can't wait to work with him.
What brought me to Canaan Esports was honestly just the name Tony Kanaan. Everyone knows him. He's an IndyCar legend. He's one of the GOATs, honestly. And for expectations, honestly, just try to be as consistent as I can be. It's what got me here to the Coca-Cola series, and I think it's what you need to be successful in it.
I go plane spotting every once in a while. It depends on what planes are coming in. If there's a good plane coming in, then I'll try to go as much as I can. Plane spotting is you just go to the airport, you take your camera, and you just take pictures of planes. And we normally will just upload them to Instagram, and we'll upload them to other websites such as Jet Photos, Twitter, and just kind of anything we can find. So it's always a good time, like I said. The race I have circled on my calendar is going to be the Monza road course. Monza is a really good road course for me. I really enjoyed driving it, and especially with the no chicanes layout, that's going to be a really crazy race, and I feel like that fits my driving style.
In terms of my best chances, probably the super speedway races. I enjoy the super speedway races. I'm in leagues for them. I run them all the time in official races, and I think I'm pretty good at them. Biggest challenger. It's got to be the defending champ, Casey Kirkwood. I mean, everyone's out to beat him. That's the guy you want to beat to win the championship.
Well, I don't know, because this is my first year in the series. I feel like I have a good relationship with everyone. If I had to pick anyone, I'd pick my teammate Wyatt Tinsley, because I've known him for a long time, and I feel like we're going to be really rough on each other on the track. So I'd pick Wyatt to be my biggest rival. The memory that sticks out to me the most is watching the 2019 finale at Homestead, because that was the first time I ever watched an iRacing race, and just watching Keegan Leahy and Zach Novak come into the line, and that's what got me into iRacing. So that's just always stood out to me.
Honestly, probably watching the championship race last year at the Hall of Fame. Just everyone being there, watching the crowd. I wasn't in the crowd, but I was at home watching it. It was a pretty cool experience to watch. Secret is honestly probably you got to be aggressive. I know some people won't be, and you got to be aggressive. You got to be hungry to try to get those wins.
Just being consistent, not being nervous is a big thing, because if you're nervous in the race, then you're just gonna not hit your marks. So just not being nervous, just being consistent, and if I can race just like I did through the Contender Series and the Road to Pro Series, I think I'll have a good shot at a victory this year.
Keeping those nerves calm. I mean, that's the best way to do it, especially when you're the rookies coming into the series. Now, speaking of some people that may have their nerves up high because a lot's on the line, I'm talking about the college series, Blake. So you got to catch us up to date.
Well, as you can see, we've had 4 races this season. I was going to call it this semester, but I guess either one works here. Iowa, Dover, Michigan, but Daytona is the one that we are worried about right now. You can see the time attack right there. That is how you qualify for these races. You can see right there going on from April 5th to April 18th. So if you want to be a part of that and you go to college, guess what? You can do it, and guess what? It's at Daytona, so you got a chance to make it. Of course, you could go to esports.com/eNASCAR if you're interested in potentially becoming a member of this series and trying to make this semester's finale at Daytona International Speedway. And of course, we've had so many of our eNASCAR competitors who have been a part of it, and you can catch that right here, twitch.tv/iRacing, and as well as eNASCAR.com. April 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll take the green flag from Daytona, and we'll be giving away, as we have all season long, a bunch in scholarship money.
Lots of scholarship money. I'm starting to think back. I should go back to school, try to win the scholarship money. You two thinking the same thing?
Absolutely. Play some, win some games, win some races, get some money. Awesome.
I mean, what if you win a couple races? I think that's about that's close to a semester's tuition. So if you got skill, I'd say go for it.
We had a producer just tell us we're in state. That is true, but we're getting there. Now we heard from Parker and Tyler talking about as soon as they heard Kanan Esports, they knew they wanted to be a part of the team, and that is for one reason, Alan. And I'm thinking you have someone standing by that has to do with that reason.
Oh, yeah, the man himself, Tony Kanaan, joining us here on Countdown to Green. First of all, how cool is that to say that we have an Indy 500 winner joining us? So, Tony, thank you for joining us. How did you get to this point? Why join the series? How'd you get here?
Well, it's a funny story because we went to ADAC, and I was there at the sim show, and some of the iRacing folks were there. Greg is there. I met Greg during the pandemic when we did the IndyCar stuff back in the day, and Otto was there, and Otto runs the Coke NASCAR series. And jokingly, I guess, he says, "Hey, you need to get in the series." I'm like, "Why not? Give me a team." And it started like that, and then that's what happened. Obviously, for people that don't know me, I've been involved with iRacing for the past 3 years. I went from obviously I knew about the product, but didn't want to be in the sim, didn't want to be spending time in the sim, to spending 5 hours a day, most of my time when I'm home on the sim, streaming, helping iRacing, developing some of the cars sometimes. We developed the stock car Brazil. So anyway, that's how it came about. We had a conversation in October. I prepared myself. I already own a team in Brazil with a few kids. Gustavo Ariel is one of my drivers. He just won PESC. Actually just won 2 races in a row. So it wasn't that hard of a task to add. But obviously being in America for 26 years, being an IndyCar driver, having so many friends in NASCAR, I think that was the series to be. And that's kind of like getting my feet wet to get probably transferred to the whole team, even the whole other operation, to be based in America. But I love it. I told those guys that when I had to choose the drivers, I want to pick 2 rookies. I wanted to be able to help kids that wanted to come up. No disrespect to the veterans. I'm good friends with Casey, and I know there are a lot of good guys out there, but I wanted it to start fresh. So I chose Parker and Tyler to be able to, hopefully I'll be able to help them out grow in the series as well.
Well, you made some good choices already because you are battling for a team championship already at this point in the season, your first year. What does that mean to you?
It's a lot of pressure, man. I mean, obviously my name adds to it, but you see how many big names we have in that series. And I told the boys, I said, I have no expectation, guys. I think you guys go out there, have fun, gather experience, and it's a long-term project. I'm not looking forward to have a team for 1 year only and that's it. So I said, go enjoy your time. You guys are rookies. We all need to learn. I need to learn as a team owner. I need to learn how much I can even be able to help you guys out in any shape, way, form. And but it's working. So I'm proud of them. I mean, hopefully we'll be able. If we finish in the top 5, it's a way better than I expected.
We know you know how to prepare as a driver in the real world. How do you prepare as an owner here in the Coke Series?
I mean, we review a little bit, but those guys they're so good that what I can do for them is help them with the mind games or the pressure, how to deal with that pressure. I think the driving part, they're pretty much all set. And as a rookie, as you go, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to learn from them and so on. The exposure on social media, I'm available. I mean, obviously trying to help them with equipment if they need anything to be able to do their jobs, talking about steering wheels or pedals or anything. I think with all my connections, I'm able to help them out too. I told them, I mean, I'm here for anything you guys need. I mean, I let them do their own thing. I'm not the type of guy that I'm on top of it. I know everything because I race ovals, this and that. I mean, sim racing and real world are similar, but sometimes they're very different. So I don't get much involved with what did we do right or we do wrong if they don't ask me. I think they're pretty smart. They have their own way of working. So I try to give them the freedom not to have, my finger on top of it all the time. I don't think that's a good idea.
Hey, you're a perfect guy to lean on, and we know that. You're a perfect guy to lean on. We know that for so many reasons. Going to a track they've never been to before, Monza. How do you describe this track tonight?
Monza is a tricky track, man. It's kind of a road course, but with long straightaways, kind of an oval. So, I mean, I told them that to me, there are some good guys there, road course guys there too. But I mean, in my opinion, Parker has a big chance there. I told him that honestly. I said, dude, you gotta be there at the end. So it doesn't matter what happens. It's very easy it's a track that invites you to risk a lot right away and then can cost you. So basically the advice was, listen, just stay there at the end.
Yes, be there at the end. You got to get there to win it. So just big perspective from your experience, how does the sim translate to the real world? You're the best at both. You've been the best at both. How does that translate in between the worlds?
Racetracks, refreshing the racetrack that you're going to go race. That is perfect to do it. The tracks are laser scanned. They're custom copy. So that is a big plus. And to me, that I'm not driving as much nowadays as I used to because of testing, they're very limited. Running with my equipment, which I can put the force feedback extremely high, it's basically a workout. And when I do a session, I mean, I still go to the gym, but there is no better workout than driving the race car. Yes, you don't have the G forces in your body, so that you still gotta do core exercises and everything else, but having the steering wheel heavy as I have in the real car, it helps a lot with the motion. So, and reflexes as well. So, I knew I didn't want to get involved in sim racing because I'm all or nothing. And once I got in, you don't want to lose. You don't want to get beat. And some of these kids, I mean, there is no way I'm going to beat them. I mean, they grown up since they're 6, 7, 8 years old. They've been on iRacing. I just started 3 years ago. It's just a matter of fact that, when you get older, you learn things a lot slower. So I knew I was going to spend most of my time trying to get better. And that's basically what happened, right? I mean, I'm in my studio right now. I have two full simulators here. So now I'm building a headquarter with 8 of them. That tells you how much I'm involved. And I knew it was going to take a lot of my time, but I'm enjoying it. It helps me a lot, especially, like I said, because I'm not driving in the real world as much as we used to because of limited testing. So
What a treat, Tony. Thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this series. Camille, Blake, I mean, just to have Tony Kanaan a part of this series, to say that, get to interview him, and then hear one of the best in the world, you know, shout out the benefits of iRacing, the workout that goes into it. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
No, it doesn't. That seems like somebody that if I was a driver in this series, that is a man I would want to drive for sure.
Oh, definitely. I may not love the gym as much as Tony does, but one thing I do love just as much as he loves the gym and racing is seeing your rigs at home. So it is time for Logitech Show Us Your Rigs. This is where we get to see your rigs. Our first one is from Fernando. And wait a second, what do I see there? A cup holder, and we have a flight throttle. The best of both worlds.
Yeah, I like it. I like the wraparound. Good. A little few cables out there, but hey, it's got to come with a cup holder. You got to keep hydrated.
Gotta love old reliable at G29. 27.
All right. Next one, Ken Fixed. I'm liking the RGB.
Oh, yeah. I mean, good colors, good, very clean. I don't know if the CT stands for Connecticut, but I hope it does, Ken, because we're good people, us nutmeggers.
Let's see our next one. Pedro, this is sweet. I have to say I could barely see any cables.
Yeah, good stuff there. Like the Ferrari wheel, the pedals are different there, Blake. I mean, is that different? What do you see there?
Golly, those things are so far apart. I mean, that you usually have the throttle and the brake right next to each other. I mean, you'd be squatting almost while driving that thing.
Nice, good stuff.
Yeah, no clutch there as well. And then we have Josh. This is pretty clean, right, Blake?
It's pretty clean. He is leaning back a lot. You know, this is kind of like an open wheel setup where you're really going to be laying down and having to sit in there. I remember James Davison a couple years ago when I was helping him out in the Pro Invitational Series. He kind of had a similar setup to it.
And a big old monitor. I mean, wrapped around a whole wall size.
It's like you're going to the theater. You're sitting right in front of that monitor. Then we have Jordan here. It's a little smaller. I think there's a lot going on in this setup.
Yeah, it looks like he's online shopping while iRacing as well, so I'm glad there's a sale going on. But I love the lighting to the right and the computer there and everything. Very clean setup.
About to say very efficient use of space with the rig and the gaming setup right next to each other.
Good stuff.
Ooh, this is nice. Sim seats. These are updated racing sims at NASCAR's R&D Center. All of this just makes me so jealous.
Oh, yeah. This is right up the street for me, and this is not too far. So NASCAR, I'm coming by, and then I'm going to jump in these things. I mean, the three of them right there. I like that. And then we had some of them at the track. This is, look at, they dropped off some goodies at Richmond, SimSeat says, and it was everybody who had to guess what was under there. But $10,000 in Monopoly money, not too bad.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah. And then we have a little stormy Saturday morning at Richmond Raceway, 120 volts plus water. Should be fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I hope everybody was fine. Yeah, everybody was good. Everybody was good.
And Alan Bowes. Yeah, go ahead, Blake.
I was about to say this isn't a sim rig, but he was out here golfing a couple of weeks ago, and good to see him getting out. And then here's about the representation of me picking Alan last week, off and to the right.
Yeah, what's he say? Went 80 yards up, 170 out. I never claimed to be good. He had to withdraw from the Masters, guys. Can you believe that? I mean, goodness me.
Darn.
Well, you know what? We got a lot of rigs and even fit in a little bit of golf here. So just show us your rigs or whatever you want, because you never know what we'll pull. Be sure to use the hashtag eNASCAR, as well as tagging NASCAR and iRacing, because I love to see all of the pretty setups that you all have. One thing that we have to get into, because there's a wild card tonight, and that is Monza. It is the first time that we're going here. So let's get educated a bit. Alan, take us through some of the history with Monza.
Yeah, every time we go to a road course, it's a wild card. But with Monza especially, this is the 7th different road course that we've gone to here in the Coke Series in history. Watkins Glen, Sonoma, the Roval at Charlotte, Daytona, Coda. We know all those. This is different. In 13 of the 14 races, the winner has led the most laps in the race. But there was one time, as we said, in 13 of the 14, the winner has led the most laps. The one time it didn't, it was right here. The 57 car with PJ Sergios comes up on our boy Michael Conti, and And right there is why Michael Conti did not win the race. The 57 goes on to win. That's the only time someone who didn't lead the most laps went on to win. Now, only one driver has won the title after winning at a road course. It was our friend Michael Conti. That was way back in 2014. He won, and then he went on to win the championship. 5 of the 8 drivers to win on road courses have made the Final Four. And in the playoff era, all of them have made the playoffs. So winning on a road course, it kind of tells you something. Remember our friend Mitchell DeYoung there. 11 of the 14 race winners have won at least one other race. So if you win on a road course, probably pretty sure you're going to go on and win sometime, another time in the season. 11 of the 13 winners have won at least one other race that season. Road course winners, Richmond winners, have an average of 3 wins per year. Who won Richmond? Our friend Bobby Z last week. So all these numbers, the stats, if you believe in them, are saying good things. Now, one driver has more road course wins than any other driver. That's Bobby Zielinski. He has 6 wins on road courses. He was also the winner at Richmond. Those 6 wins on road courses came consecutively when he did them. What is all this trying to say? Bobby Zielinski is very good at road courses, and he's won a lot of stuff. He's probably going to do it again sometime this year, Blake.
And I would not be shocked if he did that, as we're going to take a look at Monza, the track that we are running tonight. And, of course, one thing that you want to take a look at in this track, I know we've been hyping up Monza. Well, guess what? No chicanes. That's what we're running tonight. So very long straightaways, very, very high speeds. And speaking of Bobby Zielinski, why don't we take a ride along with him? And what I was telling our production team almost looked like some NASCAR 99 graphics on the screen. I love it. Very old school here, but you can see Bobby Zielinski lifting right there. Look at the throttle and the brake and how fast these drivers are going to be going into turn 1, nearly 190 miles an hour, and that's without draft. So these drivers are going to have to hit the brakes hard, slow down to nearly 145 into turn 1, and this is the turn, folks. If y'all are tuned in for anything, lap 1 going through this section right here in turn 2, very narrow, very difficult, right into a heavy braking zone. That is going to be where if any chaos happens on lap 1, it is certainly going to happen there. Down in turn 4, and Zielinski, you can see how well he gets up off the corner. Notice the load that this car takes. This is a very flat racetrack. There's not a lot of banking. There's not a lot of leaning to the right or left. Pretty much flat as it goes. You can see right here, very heavy braking zone. Probably the second best passing opportunity, or perhaps the best on this course, is going to come in this set of corners, 6, 7, and 8, and then it is straight speed from here. Very, very high acceleration here, getting into the parabolic at nearly 180 miles an hour. Harden the brakes once again. And then this is what I think is one of the more deceiving corners on this racetrack. When do you get back to the throttle? You can see Zielinski kind of playing around with it a little bit. And that is 1 lap at Monza. Very difficult and very, very quick is how these drivers are going to be going tonight at Monza.
Very quick. So what you're telling me is they may be a little cautious, and it may be a toss-up for our picks tonight. So let's talk about it. Finally, I'm up on the board. I'm getting closer to you, Blake. But let's get started. Tell us who your pick is for tonight.
Well, he got a lot of ground to make up for Allen, but I'm going to go with the driver that said back at Media Day that this was going to be the track he was going to win at. We heard from him earlier tonight from Tony Kanaan Esports. I'm taking Parker White to win tonight at Monza.
Blake's going with the rookie. I'm going with the experience of winning from Houston Tech. Graham Bolin, I think he does it a lot like Watkins Glen this track. I think he gets it done tonight. Camille, and I maintain my points lead. Woo!
All right, well, you obviously both made the wrong choice because we've been talking about him all night. That is right. I'm talking about Bobby Z. I really do believe that he's going to be able to do it again, and I have faith in my man here because I need these points, Bobby. I need these points. You could do it. You could do it.
Back-to-back Bobby.
Back-to-back Bobby. I mean, it'd be great to see it. And we're going to see what happens in Monza just after this break. Blake, Allen, it's been awesome. Be sure to stick around because the race starts just after this.
I need to try it first.
Here and now is when it matters most.
Heavy damage.
Not last month or last week or 48 laps ago when that bumper fell off.
He's done.
Here is where it must be left on the track. The anger, the hunger, the passion, and the drive to do whatever it takes to make it across that finish line first.
Blow those rear tires off us, bud.
Now is when the future is written. In the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
This is our series, where the stakes are always higher, where virtual meets reality. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Yeah, look at my shine with the blow. This is my time with it though. This is my time to be way at the top. Me and my guys gon' pay out the block. I don't look like walk. Time's right, and I know the scene's walking in a long night. Promise you won't wanna watch like a sci-fi. My guys are high risers, high tide. Might drown if you come to my side. I pledge allegiance for lifetime. My squad connected like Wi-Fi. We grind and you see the highlights. This my life. It ain't a game now. Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you wanna play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Don't step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
The road to $300,000 makes an international first. From across the Atlantic Ocean at iRacing's virtual Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, we say buonasera, sim racing fans, e benvenuto to round 5 of the 2013 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We have had many a first, Blake, but none quite like this one. Road course racing in NASCAR Next Gen Cup Series cars at the legendary Monza. I don't think it gets much better than this, and sure, we're paying points, and this is big in the road to the championship, but how cool is this event?
It's amazing, and this is what I love, the identity of this series and what iRacing is capable of. It can show us a lot of firsts. We've seen that over the years with this sim, but to bring it to the Coke series and to go somewhere that we would probably never see in real life, I think that is what this series identity should look at. So I am so excited. I know a lot of drivers are as well to get things going.
It is a different facility for us. Of course, it's the first international one, but look for those road course drivers to show their prowess here. It's the first road course race of the season. Let's go down trackside and take a look at our Coca-Cola starting grid and introduce you to tonight's lineup. Bobby Zalenski with career pole position number 13 will bring us to the green flag in his Joe Gibbs Racing number 18. He's alongside the 23 of Keegan Leahy. Row number 2 is going to see the Team Dillon Esports 33 of Tucker Minter alongside the Exit 95 of Casey Kerwin. Row number 3 will see the Team Dillon number 3 of Jordy Lopez Jr. and the Judah Motorsports number 8 of Michael Conti. Row number 4, you'll see Graham Bolin in the 48 for the Charlotte Phoenix alongside Jim Beaver Esports' 15 of Garrett Lowe. And rounding out your top 10, it's Steven Wilson, the Stuart Haas number 10, and the Elliott Sadler Esports 27 of Cody Bias.
Back in row 6, you'll find Parker White for Tony Kanaan Esports, as well as Timmy Holmes driving for RFK Racing tonight. Dylan Alt for Steve Letarte will roll off 13th with Kevin King, slowly creeping back towards the top 20 in the standings for Junior Motorsports. In 14th, 15th is FGR Excel's Garrett Maines, and William Byron Esports' Matt Musa will roll off from the 16th starting spot. Malik Ray starts in 17th for Jim Beaver Esports, and Front Row Motorsports' Alan Bowes, top of the team standings, starts in 18th. The other FRM entry, I should say, and Michael Cozy Jr. will start 19th, and Jimmy Mullis, representing Rise Esports, starts 20th.
Halfway home, then you'll find Corey Vincent in the 2 alongside Donovan Strauss in the 51. They'll make up row number 11. Row 12 is going to be the William Byron 25 Nick Ottinger, the FGR XL 14 of Joey Brown. Behind them, Femi Olat, the number 43 car for the Charlotte Phoenix on row 13 alongside Wyatt Tinsley in the Kansas City Pioneers at number 20. Row 14 will belong to the 41 of Dylan Duvall. That's another Stuart Haas entry, and the second of the Tony Kanaan cars, the 16 66 of Tyler Gary. And 29th and 30th tonight belong inside and outside of row 15 to Rise Esports' 75 of Zach Novak, and the second of the Williams Esports entries, that's the 55 of Vicente Salas.
Black and yellow colors represented from Ryan Doucette for the Pittsburgh Knights in 31st. 32nd is Brandon McKissick, the other Letard Esports entry. 33rd tonight, the Interstate Batteries Toyota for JGR is Daniel Falkingham, alongside former series champion for XSET Gaming in Ryan Luza. Colin Bowden makes up the 35th position for eRacer, as well as somebody who came from the back of his heat race in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series a couple of days ago. And Caden Honeycutt, he'll roll off from 36th. 3 drivers did not post a time in qualifying. The other eRacer entering Colin Keister, 37th. Derek Justice in 38th. For the Kansas City Pioneers, Michael Guest in 39th for 23:11. 39 cars set to do battle tonight for 30 laps around Monza.
It's a look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Let's talk with our pole sitter. You're dialed up with Bobby Zelensky.
Well, Bobby, the last time we were talking to you was in Victory Lane at Richmond. How do you try to go back and be on the top step of the podium tonight at Monza?
Yeah, we're just going to have to get a good start here and kind of survive the first couple corners and hopefully come out the lead. But it's going to be tough to try to build a gap if we are fast because of the draft. The draft's probably worth 3/10 here, maybe more. So it's going to be hard to shake Keegan. But just don't make mistakes. I got pole at Balkans last year, and I got second. So don't mean a whole lot until we lead that last lap.
Bobby Zelensky looking to get it done once again. Bobby, good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk more about what we're going to see tonight with our iRacing race analysis. 30 laps on deck, Blake. It's going to be a quick one.
It is not going to take long to get around here. They will have to make one pit stop in the midst of this race. Anywhere from 22 laps or so, I think, is around when you'll start to see drivers make their way onto the pit lane, if not splitting it halfway, but they could go 22 if they so desired. And as we have had in series history before, we're not looking to throw a caution flag tonight, as we have in many of our other road course races.
And Bobby scooped me on the stat. He did mention that the last time he was on pole at a road course was our last road course race. That was Watkins Glen last fall. He did not, though, win the race. You guys talked in Countdown to Green about how it is often the dominant car who goes to victory lane, and we'll see if he can turn those tides. The one opportunity to scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen to stay up to date with the latest around the world of eNASCAR as this 2023 campaign rolls on. The pace car will bow out of the way as the field rounds through the curva parabolica, and the field is in the hands of a front row with 2 heavy hitters, Bobby Zelensky and Keegan Leahy. For the first time in eNASCAR history, we say, let's go racing at Monza. And it is a long, long run without those chicanes, Blake, in turn number 1 as they head down to Curva Grande at speeds that'll top 180 miles an hour.
And they are 3 wide further back in the pack. They're almost leaning on each other as Mullis gets turned into turn number 1 to the outside of the sand. A couple more drivers go around at the back of the pack, but this is going to be the trouble spot. How will they get through turn 2?
Pretty good so far, and now the really one and few chicanes as they go through 3, and now down into Lesmo, which is kind of a dual 4-5 set of corners at the far end of the racetrack. Race leaders doing a good job of single filing themselves out. Zelensky defends the race lead early. Now they'll slow things down again. A slow right-hander in turn number 5, and then a high-speed run down to Ascari.
I think it's interesting. Zelensky said it in his pole interview. We talk about how important clean air could be, but with how long these straightaways are and how important it will be to stay in the draft, he said it's roughly worth about 0.3 of a second. So as long as you can stay within earshot of everybody, you should have a chance. You can see the field single filing out, and most of them made it through turn 2. That was going to be the trouble spot, but you can see single file mostly through the top 5 as Casey Kerwin, Tucker Minter battling for that 3rd spot to complete lap number 1.
It's a great perspective as they make that run from Ascari in 7 down to the Parabolica in 8. You can see drivers kind of sticking their nose at a line, trying to find a position. And right now it really is a battle for second, as it is Zelensky in front by about 0.6. There's a good look there as lap number 1 is done. Leahy leads Minter, leads Kerwin. That's the three-way battle for second, third, and fourth. Another quick trip through the Curva Grande. And like you talk about the no chicane version of this racetrack, right? It eliminates that main braking zone from the Italian Grand Prix into turn number 1. But you still have right here kind of a semi-chicane in turn 3. We still have Ascari. So how much do those chicanes that remain on this layout still play a factor?
It's huge, and I think Tony Kanaan alluded to it early on in our pre-race show about this is a track that is very inviting to making aggressive moves. We're going to look at this one more time and look around. I believe it was Jimmy Mullis here. The trees are kind of cutting us off right there, but you see Dylan Duval is involved. The other Tony Kanaan Esports entry in Tyler Gary spins, Colin Bowden, as well as several others. And, you know, talking to the drivers this week, Evan, it was all about turns 2 and 3, how tight and narrow that area was. We got through there fine. It was to turn 1 without that chicane that we were talking about earlier, where it ended up being the trouble spot.
And here's a dive to the inside as Casey Kerwin wants to go on the offensive, makes a move to the inside of Tucker Minter, the highest running rookie in the field so far tonight in third. But Minter able to shake him off through the Parabolica. And at the end of lap number 3, everybody inside of the top 7 positions remain exactly where they were when they started this race.
That is the case, as you can see Vicente Salas right here running along just behind Casey Kerwin. And Vicente, we're going to talk to you live while you're driving. So how are things going tonight?
Well, the car is in the pits. We're in shambles, but, you know, we had a good time roaring down the front straightaway at Monza. It's kind of unfortunate that we didn't make it past the first turn, but, you know, we'll be at Talladega. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, sorry about the bad luck right there. As you mentioned, barely got a couple of feet around. But I do want to ask you, while we had the chance, I know you've been running some late models at Hickory Motor Speedway recently. You got your first win a couple of weeks ago. How excited are you to be working with the Carroll Speed Shop and everybody over there?
It's definitely such an incredible opportunity. I mean, I can't thank Miramar Financial enough, Justin Carroll, John Carroll, Josh, Jacob, everybody at Carroll Speed Shop for the opportunity. And it's definitely been interesting going back and forth between the sim here and real life, just to kind of see, you know, what's realistic, what correlates between both of them. But it's definitely been such an incredible experience, and I couldn't be more excited to continue the season.
Well, I wish you better luck moving forward on both the real and virtual side of things, Vicente.
Thank you. Have a good broadcast.
Tough break for poor Vicente there. He's not the only one out of this race early. Colin Keister also into the pits. They're scored 38th and 39th respectively. Everybody else still on the lead lap. This racetrack 3.5 miles long in this configuration. Pole time for Bobby Zelensky 1:32.534. Right now drivers running in the mid 1:33 still. It was a 33.404 for Zelensky the last time by, so already seen a little bit of that fall off as Casey Kerwin continues to try to be the instigator here, but he can't find a way by that 33 of Tucker Minter.
And I got to say, when we were thinking about coming into this race, who were going to be the big factors on a road course, we have several of our familiar names at the front of the field, guys like Bobby Zelensky, Keegan Leahy. I wouldn't say that Tucker Minter was necessarily one of those names that we would put up there in the top 5 or so, but had an incredible qualifying lap, and most of the field was really scrunched around the 133s, but Minter above that in qualifying had a great lap and is holding his own with some of the best road course racers that we know grace the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series.
Already 4 laps in to this affair. We talked about pit strategy when we looked at the iRacing race break, and drivers will have to make that one trip down to the pit lane to be able to get to this 30-lap scheduled distance. You can see up at the top of the screen, of course, Keister Salas already on the pit lane. Let's jump on board and ride around Monza with Jordi Lopez Jr. This is the Coca-Cola onboard camera. It was 175 miles an hour
Trouble
into
Casey
Ascari that time.
Through, he spins through here. He got tagged right there by Jordy Lopez Jr. through Ascari as he just hopped one of the curbs right there with this right front tire. He hit the turtle, lost control right in front of Jordy Lopez Jr. He saves it. No real damage to that 95, but it's going to fall down the running order just a little bit.
And I'm sure we'll get a second look, but we'll see as he was so close to the back of Minter. We had seen him hounding him for so many laps that he couldn't see how offset to the curbs that 33 in front of him was, and he took a nose out to get a look, and he did get that curb, and it sent him airborne for a moment. And Casey Kerwin, one of the faster cars in the top 5, the aggressor, and a lot of the battles that we've seen so far, drops all the way to 13th spot. Let's take a second look at what happened at Ascari on lap number 5.
I want to see exactly how he gets in here. You can see it's going to be on the right side. He's going to hop up, and that's just enough to upset the race car. And if anything, Lopez kind of aids him in that spin and gets him going in the right direction. So I'd have to say, all things considered, you're in a very vulnerable spot there at the end of Ascari. But well done there by Lopez, and all things considered, well done by Kerwin, who only falls down to 13th.
Could have been a lot worse still in this thing. Not a ton of damage on the 95. Also, though, again, not a ton of time in this race to make up for a mistake like that. So we'll see. Scoring board shows you left-hand side. He's about 8.8 seconds off of the race leader. That continues to be Bobby Zelensky, whose race lead has grown to more than a second, as Mike Conti off it into the dirt that time through his car. The 8 car going to scrub off a lot of speed, and it's going to allow the aforementioned 95 of Kerwin to take a spot away.
Now somebody that was running up in the 6th position, and he kind of made the exact same mistake in a way that Casey Kerwin did, and that's such a tough position in that area because, again, you're going so fast nearly around every single corner here that you barely make a mistake through Ascari. You're just scrubbing so much speed for almost what would be the second half of the lap. So that's a place where if you do screw up, it is going to be a very, very costly mistake.
We jump up to the fight between 2nd and 3rd spot. There's a good visual of the gap between these two and Zelensky as they slice through 3 and head off to turns 4 and 5 in Lesmo. Leahy still in 2nd. Minter still in 3rd. They've been lockstep with each other all the way, Blake. And we talked about Keegan Leahy a lot last time out of Richmond, but certainly I think a lot more topical here tonight on the road course as Minter goes to the right-hand side and they'll race side by side. High speed run. It's going to be downhill to Ascari, and the 33 of Minter is clear. So move him up to 2nd, Leahy down to 3rd. The point to make it, of course, about Leahy, that connection with 2311 Racing and his involvement helping drivers like Tyler Reddick on the sim learn road courses. Where's that experience come from for Keegan? Exclusively here on iRacing is how he gains that knowledge, and it's really fascinating to see how the real-life 2311 Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series is utilizing his expertise.
Well, I love that this is one of the great examples of sim racing where we've seen a lot of examples over the years of drivers who kind of get their start and use iRacing as a tool to aid their driving development once they get to the real world. But to have someone who's exclusively an iRacer be able to find speed for a NASCAR Cup Series team and to basically show a driver a new way of going about a corner that helps them win a NASCAR Cup Series race. I mean, that's one of the better compliments, I think, that any driver on iRacing has ever received. So right there for Keegan Leahy. He runs in 3rd. As you see, Alan Bowes right now, right behind Nick Ottinger, running in the 21st position.
And Cody Bias, the SimSeed Chevrolet, down pit road at lap number 8. We saw the fuel window was in the 22 to 23 lap range. Blake, that's exactly how many laps are left to go. So he comes in at the very beginning of that window. What are you anticipating? Are we going to see more drivers like that? Do they split the middle, or is it kind of so wide open that everyone's going to get a little bit of all the strategies?
I think it depends on what exactly you want. We talked with Bobby Zielinski earlier, and he was saying how the draft, it could be worth a little bit of time. So you almost have to think of it. I don't want to say as a super speedway, but depending on what your car needs. If you need clean air, then yes, Cody Bias pits. And guess what? He's got a lot of clean racetrack in front of him that he can just run on his own and try to make the best lap times as possible. But if you think that your car runs well enough in traffic that the draft can pull you down these straightaways, I'd say you almost want to stay out with the group in a way. And again, I can't believe I'm saying that about a road course, but that's the type of mentality I would have, and we'll continue to see if drivers elect to come down pit road, but Cody Bias seems to be the first one willing to take that opportunity.
So he is off and in. Again, he's the only driver so far to have scheduled service. Everybody else still there on track. You can see the long snake as these race leaders head all the way down to first corner on this racetrack, turn number 2 for Curva Grande, as all of the battles in the midfield. Lopez, Boland, Wilson, and company all bunched together. More takers this time, though. Jimmy Mullis, Caden Honeycutt, and Dylan Duvall all coming down to the pit lane. So 3 more drivers in this time for service, as there's some fighting in the midfield ahead of the 11 cars. So ample stuff going on throughout the racetrack, Blake.
2 of your Championship 4 competitors from last year, and Wilson right there, a little bit of a blinking issue right there. That allows Graham Boland to get ahead. Parker White is going to use Garrett Lowe in almost a tandem to try and get around here. And oh, golly, this is going to be tight as we have caught up with Colin Keister as well. Is there 3 wide behind him? Oh, that's not going to work, and Garrett Lowe's going to spin, but unfortunately for you, Colin, a very early exit here at Monza.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. I messed my Q lap up and had to start in the back there, and then we piled up into the first corner, and I had nowhere to go. And then we came back around the track, and I locked the brakes up and went head onto the wall, and that pretty much killed the car. So unfortunate, but we'll try to get them next week at Talladega.
I was about to say Talladega, a track that I know you like to run. Anything you could kind of take to try and go there and get a win there?
Just do what I've been trying to do on the Super Speedway. Just keep it up front and hope to be there at the end. And got to make the right moves.
All right, Colin Keister, we'll see if he can make the right moves, not just in 2 weeks, but next week, Evan. A short break between these 2 dates, between Monza and Talladega next Tuesday night.
Yeah, double dose of action 2 Tuesdays in a row, and no complaints at all. Up front, no complaints either for Bobby Zielinski. Started on pole, and he has led all the way thus far, now working lap number 10 of 30. Bobby, Keegan, both tied, 12 wins apiece for 5th on the all-time wins list. Can Bobby take sole possession? So far, so good. He leads at Monza.
There's a thin line in the NASCAR Xfinity Series between winning and losing, between being the future and being past, between headlines and tailspins, between making history and being it, between the sweet taste of victory and the fumes of defeat. In the NASCAR Xfinity Series, there's a thin line between being a name they know and being a name they'll never forget.
Back live at Monza, where coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And by Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. There's a look at the gaps as we close in on halfway home from iRacing's virtual Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. The Temple of Speed makes its eNASCAR debut tonight. And as we said when we stepped aside, Zelensky has led all the way. What you're looking at is the ongoing battle for second. Minter made a pass a couple of laps ago. Keegan Leahy doing a good job of not letting him get away. At Logitech Toyota close on the heels. Your top three with a big gap over P4, Jordi Lopez and company. Is Michael Conti going to be coming down pit road? The 8 car was scored in 17th position at the start finish that time, but it was the top 10 car a couple laps ago, Blake. So we're starting to see leaders make their way in.
They are, as you take a look right here, Parker White, one of the biggest movers that we've had, along with the driver that you see directly behind him, and that number 12 FGR Excel machine for Garrett Maines. He has been, along with White, just picking apart this field, and Maines up more than anybody else who has ventured his way up into the top 10. So this number 12 car, they are doing a number trying to make their track position up and get up into the top 10.
When you take a look at one of the Kanani sports cars in the field, and we'll have another opportunity to get a word from the 2013 Indianapolis 500 champion, Tony Kanaan. TK, we appreciate the time and appreciate your involvement in this series. What do you find most enjoyable about being a team owner in the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series?
Running a team. I'm always being on the other side, right? I always had a team owner. Sometimes I thought they were not very nice. Sometimes I thought they were really cool, and so all those to me, that experience. It's because it is like a race team. There's no difference. I mean, apart from you have a virtual shop and a virtual race car, but we have people that run strategy. We have spotters. We have people that run social media. I mean, I have a whole team of people that actually, because I wanted it to do it right. So I'm enjoying that side of it. I mean. Somebody asked me, is that going to transfer to the real world? I mean, I guess you never know. I'm not saying I have any desire to own a team yet, but if I will, one day, I'm pretty sure this experience it's already helping me a lot.
Well, no, it's our first time here at Monza. TK, you've raced all over the world. Have you ever raced at Monza before?
Yeah. I lived in Monza for 3 years when I raced in Europe. So obviously, on the lower series, but yeah, I did.
We've got a rookie driver in your fold this year. What is your objective and your goal long term for Kanaan Esports?
I would like to be, a fully functioning team. Well, I am, but for many years to come in the series, in the NASCAR series. I think it's, the goal is to go win a championship eventually, trying to create the sources of doing that. What people don't know, I'm building a sim headquarter here in Indianapolis. We're going to have a warehouse / sim room with 8 simulators that we're going to do fully streamable. So we'll be able to have all the drivers, if they wanted it to compete during the races, to come to the headquarters. It's a long term. The dream is to grow as a team, not just on the NASCAR series, on the Coca-Cola NASCAR series, but across sim racing. You see some big teams. We have examples of some of race car drivers that own teams, some Steve Letarte, and some teams that own teams. So hopefully I'm not associated with any real world team right now, which it's not a big deal, but the vision is to grow and just really be involved in sim racing for as long as we can, and then to grow. I mean, I think we've been growing the past 3 years. It has a positive side of the pandemic. I think we have grown sim racing a lot, and that's my goal.
You stay active doing racing in Brazil, but you talk about trying to open that sim center. Does racing on the sim scratch that itch for you?
100%. It keeps it alive. I mean, it's the closest thing we have to the real world, right? I mean, I'm retiring from IndyCar after 26 years. I still have plenty of other races that I'm doing, like Dale is. I'm doing the SRX series with Tony Stewart. I'm still doing Stock Cars Brazil, which we built the car for iRacing a couple of years ago. So I'm still active, but when I'm home, I mean, it's like it's part of my routine. I wake up, I do my real workout, go to the gym, cardio, do some interviews, and I jump on the sim. It's here. I just turn it on, and then the beauty is I can drive any car at any track at any time I want, which you don't have the luxury in the real world.
Well, some of our eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed the Twitch sub count in the background there. What do you enjoy about streaming so much?
If you look at the counter, right? So we almost 30,000 on YouTube, which you do some cuts, but like we're almost 93,000 on Twitch, and that's in 2.5 years. I started it streaming because of the pandemic when we did the iRacing and the IndyCar partnership back then. I didn't think too much of it when I started it. What is about getting the word out as far as sim racing. I think some of the kids don't have the means to become a real race car driver, so that's one channel that they can definitely have a dream. But to me, also, it brought me a lot closer to my fans. I mean, they're inside my house. Look, this is my house. This is the way I stream. The sim is right there. And we're together every day, and we're live. We're talking live, like we're a bunch of friends. I have people that they'll be coming to my stream since day one. They be subbing my stream since day one. Now they're coming to my real races, and we met in person. Tyson Quirk, I mean, it was a guy that became a friend. We met through the internet. Now he comes to the house. He stays here with me. Our wives are friends. I help him buy a car because I know a lot of the dealerships, and so it became a big family to me. And then that's like, honestly, streaming. The day that I don't stream, it feels like a void, because that's just part of my routine nowadays. It's no different than working out in the morning or taking my kids to school or having dinner with my kids, and after dinner I spend a little bit of time with my wife. We'll watch a show, and then I come downstairs and I start streaming, and I talk to my friends. So it's part of my life, and it brought me a lot closer to people. It brought me a lot of connections, friendship, businesses. I mean, look how we have grown. I have a whole simulator that I endorsed with my name, with the way I wanted it to build. I think it's all it became a big family. We're mixed with business. I mean, this is just part of my life right now.
We're happy to have you in the series, Tony. We appreciate the time. Tony's drivers, Parker and Tyler, currently running 22nd and 7th on the racetrack, respectively. And there is the driver in the number 7 spot. You said Parker White trying to hold off the likes of Garrett Maines and Casey Kerwin. Checking back in the everlasting battle for second, Blake. It is still Tucker Minter, Keegan Leahy, about 4-ish seconds off of Zelensky. So Zelensky no longer growing the gap. It's stabilized, but I got to think the 18's pretty comfortable with where that sits now past the halfway point.
Absolutely. But again, this is a track that is so treacherous that even having a little bit of a lead, all it takes is one little mistake for that gap to completely go away. So Minter, Leahy still very much in this thing as they've kind of built their own gap. Back to Jordy Lopez Jr. Got to give another nod to one of our series rookies here showing out up here in the top 5 along with Tucker Minter is the other Team Dillon Esports driver and Jordy Lopez Jr. So Team Dillon, they are getting it done tonight.
A couple more cars have come to pit road since we were talking with Tony. We've seen Garrett Lowe, Wyatt Tinsley, Malik Ray come down to the pit lane, but that is still the minority. It's more than 26 cars yet to pit. So the drivers who have pitted are not the majority at this moment. So clearly not, chomping at the bit for the pit window to open, and now past the halfway point, clearly looking towards the final 10 before they make that one and only pit stop necessary to get to the end of this 30-lap race. Leahy again still following Minter. They're about 2 seconds ahead of Jordy Lopez. You'll see him coming to the shot right there, kind of all on his own in P4, and then it starts to stack up towards the tail end of the top 5. Bull and Wilson, White, Maines, Kerwin, and Alt. Your top 10 all in that shot there as they race down the long run to the Parabolica, which is certainly a really unique corner in its own right as we jump back a couple of cars and watch this battle with Timmy Holmes under fire as we head to the Parabolica, but not going to happen. He'll hold him off in the 6-car, Blake. It's tight at the start of the corner, and then it really unwinds, and it's kind of a nice progressive curve on the throttle here as they get back to that front stretch.
And this is a really inviting quarter on when you decide to get back to the throttle, because like you said, very narrow entry point going into the Parabolica, but it's pretty free as far as when you get to the center of the corner when you decide to get back in the throttle. You can really run out wide, or you can keep it kind of close to the curbing, and that seems to be a line that these next-gen cars, these stock cars, really take well to. It's not exactly the line that you would see, perhaps in a Formula One race around this racetrack. And then, my goodness, it's just mind-blowing the amount of speed that these drivers carry into turns 2 and 3, just riding on board there with Corey Benson. I mean, the margin for error there is so small, and yet we have seen very little, if any, chaos in a corner that these drivers, I know talking to these guys, were very concerned about going into this race.
And there's not a lot of forgiving areas on this track either, right? I mean, we talk about, like a Road America or some of these other racetracks in North America, Blake. A Coda, I think, is a real good example, right? Where if you miss the corner, you got a whole lot of pavement to save you. On this scan of Monza, you don't. You got, maybe a little bit of a rumble strip there, but for the most part, it's grass, it's sand, it's dirt. And so you talk about those high pressure moments where drivers get such incredible speeds like they have right now, 155 headed off to the Parabolica. If you're deep, you got to run off here. That's really the only corner that you got one, though. There's a lot of really unforgiving corners on this racetrack.
I think Tony said it best in our pre-race segment talking about this racetrack, that there's just so much speed that you carry, and this is an inviting track that rewards aggression, but it punishes it just the same.
We've seen a lot of the Logitech 23 of Keegan Leahy. Let's get a different perspective and jump on board with the Logitech G97 of Matt Busa. 15th spot. Let's jump on board at Logitech onboard camera. I think it goes without saying, the best seat in the house at the Temple of Speed on board. Great perspective there with Matt Busa. We'll take an opportunity to step aside when we come back. Pit stops. Bobby Zelensky has led all the way. Can he continue to hang on? He's 3.9 seconds ahead of Tucker Minter in second, who's trying to stretch it on fuel. The conclusion for Monza when we come back.
I need to try it first.
People throw around legend a little too freely these days. Legends are legends for a reason. It's why most are never called it. A legend in this sport is about 75 years of going fast and all the unforgettable moments that filled those years up. So after all this time, when we call something NASCAR Legends, you best know we mean it.
Back live for coverage of tonight's race, powered by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. and by Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. Inside of 10 laps to go at Monza, the oldest purpose-built motor racing circuit in mainland Europe, playing host for the first time ever tonight to an eNASCAR sanctioned event for round 5 of this 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. You're watching the battle for second, but we heard that Tucker Minter, P2 Blake, maybe trying to save a little bit, go a little bit longer on the pit stop. Zelensky, your leader, about 3.8 seconds ahead, and those pit stops should be imminent.
They should be. I'm just curious on what the strategy is here. There's clearly no way that these guys can make it to the end on fuel. I don't think they're going to pull a Watkins Glen Road to Pro here. But I'm just wondering with Minter if they're going to try to gain a little bit of ground if you can save a little bit of fuel. Zelensky's been up front. He hasn't had the draft. It's the only thing that I could really think that during the time of the pit stop, you're going to add less fuel. We heard that in the NASCAR Cup Series when talking about Atlanta, how much more fuel you use up front. And I think we'll get a good reading right here as we see several down on the pit lane. Michael Cozy Jr., Steven Wilson, Corey Vincent, as well as others who are deciding to pit here on lap 22.
You know, we see the big influx of drivers to pit road with Wilson to Cozy. You got Bose, Luza as well down to pit lane here, and obviously getting to the far end of the fuel window, so only a matter of time until everybody else comes down pit road. And looks like an issue onto pit road for the 38 car driving through pit road. So Michael Cozy, I think, missed his pit stall. One stop, not getting over the boxes. That would be a big mistake, and that's going to cost Cozy lots of time.
We'll see if he can kind of recover from that. Meanwhile, you still see Leahy, and you know what? We've started to notice these last couple of laps here, Evan, is that gap is kind of shrinking once again back to Tucker Minter. He's been making up just a little bit of ground each time that we have this wonderful sweeping shot through the parabolica. Minter's been making up some ground on Zelensky, or at least hasn't been losing ground these last couple of laps, as now Minter is going to dive to the pit lane.
So thought about saving and going late. Instead, he's the first of the top 5 to pit road, and he's bringing friends. Tucker Minter down to pit road. He's going to bring the 48 car with as well. That's Graham Bolin, Jordy Lopez Jr., Parker White, Garrett Maines, and more. Holmes, King, Busa, Strauss, Novak. Who isn't pitting on this lap? Well, Zelensky, Leahy, Kerwin, and Alt stay out. They're the top 4. Almost every single car behind them are in.
I just wonder how crowded pit road's going to get on exit when we talk about pitting. And this is a very narrow pit road, Evan. This, surprisingly enough, this pit road was not built to house about 20 or 30 stock cars going down all at the same time on entry or exit or anywhere in between. So I'm curious to see. It looks like everybody's going to kind of scurry away here fine, just because they're not all packed together. But there's a lot of traffic that have pit that have made up time, and they're all going to be coming out kind of scrunched together in turn 1.
And we'll see how well they can get out, and of course, if it stacks them up on top of each other, how they're going to be able to navigate with the traffic, because there's no traffic. Look how spread out the top 4 were by the time Zelensky, as the race leader, got all the way down to the parabolica. You could see P4 and Dylan Alt still just coming out of Ascari, and here comes your race leader. Bobby Zelensky has been in control. He is down pit road. Leahy will follow from second position. Kerwin's going to follow from third. I expect Alt to come in as well. Yes, he will. So those top 4 are in. Now it comes down to not making any easy mistakes.
No, you don't want to speed, especially when you know we're not going to get cautions. The last thing you want to do is speed on pit road, because there's no way to be able to make that back up. This is Tucker Minter. He's coming out of the parabolica right now. Just a splash and go for many of these drivers, and we'll see where this cycles out. And I think for Bobby Zelensky, very successful pit in and pit out. As you can see, he finally crosses that blue cone, And I don't think not only did Minter not make up any time, he actually lost ground to Keegan Leahy, but he'll take it into turn one. But I think you can see the end result right there. Bobby Zalenski, nobody in his mirror, so a great stop for the number 18.
If you had that chicane in one, P2 would have been Leahy's, but Minter was able to get it just before they got all the way down to turn number 2 in the Curva Grande there. Most of that due to the fact that Minter 6 second in the box, both Leahy and Zalenski 5.1. So it's an instant second to pick up there. No shock, I think, given the fact that drivers went for just the splash. Blake, we've spent so much of this night talking about how unique this race is, right? First time racing in Europe in this series. But if we picture this as Rainbow Road, take out the scenery, take out everything else, it's just the racing surface. What other track that we've been to in series history here does this most compare to?
I'm actually going to kind of say something that people may not expect, but this kind of reminds me a little bit of Pocono in a way. You can see Kerwin sliding off back there in the background. And I know that Pocono's an oval, but you think about the long sweeping corners and how long the straightaways are, how much speed you kind of carry into them. And I think that's not an unfair comparison when thinking about this racetrack is how fast they're able to go, how much the draft comes into play. But yet when you approach these corners, and they're all unique, they're all different. That's kind of what comes to mind for me, which, by the way, is one of the tracks that we'll be closing the regular season in. And not only that, it will be a fixed race kind of later off in the season.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting point. We touched on that at the top of the season, how there was a couple of races that were going to have fixed setups. Road course race at Watkins Glen, one of them as well. So is next week at Talladega Super Speedway. So that'll be a talking point as we get the perspective of Kevin King as he rides around right there midfield, and now look it up to the number 11 of Parker White, currently still scored in the number 7 spot. Not a ton of movement towards the top, a lot of plus ones, minus ones, but White up 4 from where he started. Garrett Maines up 7 from where he started. He's directly behind the 11 in the 12 car, so not a ton of big movers, but these two have done a very good job of picking their way through the field in this race.
They certainly have, and we haven't seen too many drivers that have been capable of doing that, really driving through this field, just because that's what we naturally see at these road courses, right? The fast drivers qualify up front, and they tend to be quicker throughout the race as well. So very impressive, I think, for the two cars you see on your screen right there, as we still have battles all over the place. This has been, I think, Evan, one of the more competitive road courses that we've seen where, yes, Zalenski just has it figured out, and he's off on his own, but throughout the field, very competitive lap times across the entire field. And in fact, you talk about this being a road course, 20 or 35th down or 9th down to 35th, separated by less than a second. As you can see, Alan Bowes trouble on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
We saw it going off into the final corner there. He was squeezed on the inside of the 2 of Corey Vincent, and a little bit of a touch sent the 34 Ford around. So Alan Bowes, the 18th, when we were watching him in the battle for P16 or so, and now he finds himself down in 29th position. So that is going to be a very costly late race mistake there for Bowes after contact with the 2 car. For more information on how you can start your iRacing career today, you can log on to iRacing.com. For more information, try out a NASCAR Next Gen Cup car here at Monza or any of the other hundreds, if not thousands, of possible car track combos that are available here on iRacing. And look out, 75 gonna get driven off the road. Zach Novak gets forced wide there by the 41 car at Duval.
I think that's just a disagreement over real estate, and Duval went in there, kind of went a little wide, and he and Novak make the contact. Novak gets the worst end of it down into the sand and has to try to collect that car back up, but that was battling just inside the top 20 as Novak could gain 10 spots since we started this race.
10 spots gained had him tied for second most positions gained in this race. At the moment, it was with Ryan Luza, but with the mistake there and him dropping spots, lose up an additional one, up 11. He is the biggest mover. I mean, started in 34th, but is still midfield in the number 23 spot. So a little bit of ways to go for him. As look at this battle continues on. More contact there. The 12 car this time. The one who gets sent out of shape. Garrett Maines will reel it back in, but it is full contact. Maines, White, and Bolin for P6 on back.
I gotta say, that is a brave move right there, as Maines kind of ducked out at the last second to try to go and pass them high through that corner, or high, I guess I should say, right. We're on a road course here, but yeah, Bolin just kind of, and at that point in the corner, you can't go in there too wide. I mean, there's just no way that you can do it, and I think Maines thought he could get him a spot quick, and you know, all things considered, he didn't exactly let them get out of sight. I'd say with 4 to go here, I mean, there's plenty of speed in that 12 car. He could maybe try to challenge and get back up to Bolin.
And a good perspective there with these two drivers. No smiles, not a lot of talking, just a whole lot of focused energy in the battle for 6th and 7th spot. And it's really not just those two, because behind them, Steven Wilson and as well, I'll say Garrett Maines, right? Another set of twos. So making a 4-car battle here, as this time by, they will take 3 laps to go at Monza. The next closest driver to these guys, Kerwin, up the road. He's got about a 3-second advantage. So P6, I think, as best as this group's hoping for. They're all chasing down the 48.
That they are, and we'll see if Bolin can move away here. He has plenty of clean air in front of him. We know he's been so strong on these road courses. A former winner at Watkins Glen is where he got his maiden win of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And Casey Kerwin, who unfortunately, Evan, had that spin early on. And I just think it's going to be a night of what could have been for Casey Kerwin, as he has driven back from 15th up to 4th. And I think he's made a case. He's one of the fastest cars here, but those mistakes, no cautions, it'll cost you a little bit. As you can see how this all shakes out on the right-hand side of your screen with the live point standings. And you can see many up in the top 10 right now, not only in the race, also in the point standings as well.
Of course, Zelensky, no surprise. He was already in with his win just 2 weeks ago, I should say, at Richmond, but 2 wins would have put him further on top. You can also see the 10 of Wilson now showing up in the winners column as he runs right now on the racetrack in 9th. That's enough points to bring him back to the top 20 in the season standings. You need to be top 20 for the win to count automatically towards playoff qualification. So he's at 4th there. So you got all 4 race winners this year. Minter, Conti, Wilson, Zelensky represented at the top. And that cut line in P10 was tied coming into this evening. The good recovery for Casey Kerwin has him 11 points up on the first driver on the outside. That man right there, the 11 of Parker White.
Again, I've been so impressed with some of the rookie class that we've seen come in here in 2023. Tucker Minter right now running in the 2nd position. Jordy Lopez Jr. has been up in the top 5 all night long. A great run for him. Parker White as well. As we've seen, I guess you would want to say some of the old guard, Michael Conti included. You can see him right on your screen, Evan. This has kind of been more of the same in terms of drivers that have been winning and really competitive up front, but just been so impressed with some of the rookies that we've seen that at a track like this. We don't often see rookies do very well at road courses in this series, and yet they've really shown out tonight.
3 of the top 7 cars in the field right now are rookies. So worth noting again, they've been doing a real good job. Minter, Lopez, White, 2-5-7 on track. Cozy's 12th, Holmes is 15th. So really good showing from the rookies. You're absolutely right. It's going to be the second to last time that Zelensky comes off of the final corner, as there's contact midfield there that puts the 69 Colin Bowden off and into the grass. He'll be okay, though, and will right the ship before they head back down to the heavy braking zone as they go through Ascari. More contact there. The midfield 3 wide as they're going to make the run down to the Parabolica. White flag in the air up front, though, for Bobby Zelensky.
Every single driver is going to try to drive hard for all of these points. We know how much they matter, and I think you made a great point there. And Wilson making his way up into the top 10. Conti, a little bit of a block here on Michael Cozy Jr. This is for 11th spot. Cozy been quicker the last handful of laps, but I think, this is a tough decision. Cozy backs up, doesn't want to go in here too wide. You want this position, but again, I think you got to be points racing at a certain point in this night, and a good decision right there by Cozy to try and lay back and get him later in the lap. But as you mentioned earlier, such an impressive job here for Bobby Zielinski. We talked about how great he was at Richmond. No shocker to see him running well on this road course. He wanted to come back and try to do one up from Watkins Glen, and he looks well on his way to doing it.
He's found success at many of the road courses on the calendar with wins at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, Roval, the Daytona Road Course in Sonoma, but he is going to add Monza to that list. Final time as Zielinski races through the Parabolica, and in eNASCAR's international debut, Bobby Zielinski wins at Monza. They'll come across the line behind him. Kerwin will hold off fourth. The battle for P6 belongs to Bolin. White to the start finish ahead of Means. Conti will cross in 11th. And all those midfield battles through the final corners simmer down.
That they do. You can see Conti able to hold on in that last lap battle. Kevin King was able to hold off Timmy Holmes. All the way back here, Dr. iRacing off of the final corner. Not a great start, but I would say with all things considered, back in 38th at the beginning of this race, Tyler Gary rebounds for 26th. I think we had somebody drop down the running order. You can see right there, very slow to the line. That is Ryan Luza.
Haven't talked a ton about Luza tonight, but he will be scored in 31st position when this one's all said and done. We had pointed out not that long ago that Ryan Luza had been one of the biggest movers, Blake, in the field, right? Plus 11. He had a last lap accident with Zach Novak in the battle for 22nd that goes on to cost him 9 spots. So he'll lose out significantly. And how about Bobby Zielinski? I talked about where he stood on the all-time list coming into tonight. Well, he is now a 13-time race winner in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. He stands alone as the 5th winningest driver in series history. He's won at so many different road courses and ovals combined. And we always say, right, perennial championship contender. Well, he's Mr. Back-to-back winner at Richmond a couple of weeks ago, and now winner here at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. And this is going to be I think a real special win for him, but also a statement, right? Because he is a factor on the ovals and the road courses week after week. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR.
And as you mentioned, Zielinski has had these winning moments at so many different types of racetracks. His last 3 wins, Talladega, Richmond, and Monza. I don't know if there's more diversity you can have in those types of wins at so many different types of racetracks. I think that speaks to the driver that Bobby Zielinski is, and that he's for sure a championship favorite.
First driver to multiple wins this season, Zielinski on top again. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race. It came down to exit stop. He had been mistake-free through the opening half, and when Minter tried to go for the undercut, Zielinski knocked out a perfect textbook fuel-only stop. And I think really the move of the race, Blake, was every single corner that he executed tonight, because he did not put a Goodyear Eagle wrong.
No, he did not. Perfect execution from start to finish, qualifying all the way through to the race. And as you mentioned, have to get onto pit road. That's the one thing that can really hurt you in a race like this. But Zielinski had plenty of lead to work with, went down there, got the job done, and did everything he needed to do to make sure that that Interstate Batteries Camry for JGR was going to end up in victory lane.
Second win for him this season. Second win as well for Joe Gibbs Racing. You're stood by, Blake, with tonight's race winner, Bobby Zielinski.
Bobby Zalenski, your winner tonight once again. In Monza, he goes back-to-back, 2 weeks separate from one another. And Bobby, what kind of momentum does this win build for you, not just for the rest of this regular season, but eyeing yet another shot at the championship later on this fall?
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe in momentum, but like it's just really great to be this fortunate, have an amazing car, 2 races in a row, and been able to put on pole, been able to not put a foot wrong in the race. It's wonderful, to get interstate batteries. Joe Gibbs Racing, a couple wins in a row early. Could just keep focusing on trying to just go for wins rather than points. Try to get wins to get bonus points for the playoffs, and make it back to the Final Four and see if we can get it done.
Well, I know, again, you've won 3 races here recently, and one of those races was at the track that we are visiting next week, Talladega. So do you think not only you could go back-to-back at Talladega next week, but make it a three-peat in the last 3 Coke races?
I mean, everybody has a shot at Talladega, so I have a shot. But, I mean, the way I've won a couple plate races, Daytona, Talladega. Like, Daytona, we had, like, the best car. We won. Talladega, I got really lucky. Bit was in the right place at the right time for that. So like I'm definitely not no favorite or anything, but I'm just gonna go out there and try to win. I'm not gonna sit in the back and wait around for points, and try to miss wrecks. I'm just gonna go out and try to lead and mix it up with the best.
2-time winner looking to make it 3 in 7 days' time. Bobby Zalenski, your winner in a first for this series at Monza. Zalenski brings it home in first, but how about an impressive run from Tucker Minter, who went to victory lane back at Daytona, but you're on the second step of the podium here tonight, Tucker. Coming into this race and coming into this season, was this something that you envisioned for yourself, being able to run this well on a road course?
I mean, I definitely felt like I could run somewhere between 7th to 15th. I felt like I was there on speed on a good day, but to have a race like today, coming home second, I mean, it was... I don't want to say shocking because, everybody put in a lot of work this week. But, I mean, it was really rewarding and a little bit surprising.
It may have been, but yet you were really locked in with Bobby there at the end. Is there anything that kind of going back you think, maybe we could have done this a little bit differently? Because at the end of that race, you were matching Bobby step for step.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Bobby's just so good that I feel like he was just able to manage his pace and kind of jump, get out to a pretty solid lead on Keegan and I. And then from there, I think he was just kind of making sure that he made it to lap 23 on fuel, which I wasn't able to do. But, I think he was just really in race management mode, no need to push, versus I was trying to make sure Keegan stayed behind me there at the end.
2 top 5 efforts tonight for Team Dillon Esports. It's led by this man right here, Tucker Minter, who still locked into the playoffs if he can stay in the top 20 in points by virtue of his Daytona win. Congratulations on your second place run, Tucker, and we'll move forward to the man of the hour, or man of the last couple of weeks here with 2311's Keegan Leahy brings it home in third tonight. Just kind of talk about the battle that you had there trying to keep up with Bobby, and also that battle that you had with Tucker Minter throughout the night.
Yeah, what's up, Blake? Nice to chat with you again in here. Happy to get a podium finally this year. Didn't expect it to be at the Monza road course, but I'm definitely happy with that. I put a lot of testing in this week and was really pleased with my pace compared to Bobby. And, I pretty much assumed as long as our setup is comparable to the other guys, Bobby's going to win. So as long as I'm close to him, I've got a shot at a decent finish. So I nailed my qualifying lap, well, at least as well as I could have, and was able to just get in line and have a little bit of draft with Bobby for a few laps there. Ended up messing up out of the Lesmos, and Tucker got a run on me. And I figured I could race him, but I may as well just get in line behind him and hopefully make good lap time and try to pass him back later. But congratulations to Bobby, and congratulations to Tucker as well. He put on a very strong performance. But I'm happy with my strong performance as well.
Well, Keegan, and I have to ask you these last couple of weeks, what they've been like for you with all the different missions and everything that's been going on and the work you've been able to do with 2311 on the real world side of things. How has the last couple of weeks been for you on that front? Because I know it's a really exciting time, potentially moving to North Carolina and everything.
Yeah, it's a dream come true for me. Dream job, honestly, something I've always wanted to do since I was a kid. Honestly, this racing stuff, driving, it's fun and all, and I like it and I'm good at it. But my passion is the engineering side of racing and trying to find speed for my driver instead of trying to find speed for myself. That's what I feel like is my passion in motorsports, and I'm really glad to have in a roundabout way, made this dream job and dream come true for me. Yeah, I just had a little work trip there a few weeks ago. I'm back home in Canada right now, making my final preparations to move down there, but looking forward to working with 2311 and hopefully getting a bunch more wins on the real life side too.
All right. Well, we're all rooting for you as iRacers ourselves, and we're proud of the work that you've done. We know you'll continue to do great things for 2311, not only in the Cup Series, but here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. As you can see, Evan, our top 3 podium finishers right there. I think that's appropriate to say here at Monza, as well as the rest of the top 10.
Well, absolutely. You can take a look at all the different teams, manufacturers represented as well, as Zelensky gets win number 2 on the season. We heard from him, Minter and Leahy, Kerwin, Lopez, the top 5, Graham Boland, Parker White, Garrett Main, Steven Wilson, Dylan Alt coming home inside the top 10. Team Dylan, 2 cars in the top 10.
Yeah, we mentioned that battle with the 2 Michael C's and Conti and Cozy. Conti gets the better end of that. Kevin King, someone else that really made his ground up through the field, finishes in 14th.
Tough break late with the issues in the spin for Ryan Luza, who's going to clock in 31st. Even beyond this page, he should have been in the top half of the field. We also talked about the early retirements for the likes of Keister and Salas. It's a look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola full race results tonight from Monza. So we go from a first to something very familiar. It is the high banks of Talladega Super Speedway, Blake. It is the already second Super Speedway race of the season. Tucker Minter won the season opener at Daytona, and it is only 1 week away until we head back to Dega.
Well, again, a great track for some drivers to try and turn around their season. And if any of the last few years that we've had here at Talladega is any indication, we are going to get one heck of a finish. These drivers are going to put it all on the line to try to lock their way into the playoffs.
And that'll do it here tonight from iRacing's virtual Monza. As always, want to thank all of the people behind the scenes who make these broadcasts possible. For everybody at NASCAR, iRacing, our partners, Coca-Cola, and of course your broadcast team tonight. For everybody behind the scenes, for the Countdown to Green crew, and of course for your broadcast team tonight. For Blake McCandless and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to say thanks for tuning in, and congratulations to Bobby Zelensky, the inaugural winner at the Monza road course in this series. If you want more eNASCAR action, you don't have to wait long, because we're back in 1 week's time from iRacing's virtual Talladega Super Speedway. That race and every race of the 2023 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively right here on the iRacing Sports Network and streaming live at eNASCAR.com. Until next time, buonanotte from Italy. We'll see you at Talladega next week.